Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our free lunchtime webinar. And today we're going to talk about the 5 secrets to help bilingual children to learn Chinese. My name is Priscilla, and I will be the speaker for today's webinar. So very warm welcome for everyone. Thank you for spending your lunchtime with me. So before I start, I would like to share a little bit about the DAS Academy Education Institution, a PEI registered with the Council or the Committee for Private Education, and is also a subsidiary of an official training provider for the Dyslexia Association of Singapore, the DAS, and we provide a range of workshops, certificate courses, specialist diplomas, masters in collaboration with the University of South Wales, and we also provide customized training for various schools and organizations. So this is the picture of our graduation ceremony, which we will hold it every year in September for our specialist diploma as well as the master program graduates. All right, so for today, I'm going to share about how to help our children learn Chinese, and I hope that you will find today's session beneficial and you can learn more strategies through us and by attending the courses that we offer. So before I'm going to delve into, how to help our bilingual children in learning Chinese, let's, share a little bit about why you think your child is reluctant or frustrated in learning Chinese. All right, so I'm not sure how many of you are actively paying attention to this webinar right now because I really can't see any of you, but I can see that currently we have about 21 attendees at the webinar right now. So I'm just going to try my luck, okay? So if you are really at your screen right now, so I will hope that you can, share your thoughts about why your child is reluctant or frustrated in learning. You can scan the QR code above or go to slido.com and join via the poll number and just, share your thoughts about it. And I'm just going to leave this on for about 3 minutes or so and see if I'm going to get any responses. So for those of you who are joining in, I can see that, there are more participants streaming in. I hope that, you can just share a little bit about why you think your child is reluctant or frustrated in learning Chinese. Right, thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for all the active sharing of your thoughts. I can see that most of you mentioned about Chinese being a very difficult language, too many strokes, hard to remember. Children get to, get very confused easily, and they try to learn Chinese as English. I see that, some mention about, not using much Chinese at home. Okay, difficulty in terms of word recognition and so on. Right, okay, cool. So these are indeed, one of the few of the key factors of why, our children are reluctant and frustrated in learning Chinese. So firstly, of course, many mention that Chinese is a difficult language. And indeed, Chinese is considered one of the more challenging languages to learn, especially for, bilingual children or bilingual people like us who speak English as our first language and as our main language for communication. Chinese does have a unique writing system with thousands of characters, and we have tonal pronunciation, and it has different grammatical structure from English. English, in fact, is a more phonetically straightforward than Chinese. By sounding out the letters, you will be able to read the word. Say, for example, when you see the letter B, you think of an associated word to it, and the sound is B. And you see the letter A, it says A. The letter T, it says T. And you put B at together, you can sound the word bat. However, we are not able to do the same for Chinese. We cannot sound out the stroke, by piecing them out together. And we have to identify certain stroke patterns to try and sound out a character. And it may not be accurate all the time. Say, for example, here, this word is ma, right? It means horse. And it has the third tone of the Chinese language. And the word ma may come with a different stroke pattern that is next to it, which is 口字旁, and the tone changes, although the pronunciation doesn't change, but your tone change, right? From third sound ma to ma, which is the first sound, first tone, and then you have ma as in mother, and you also have ma again with a 十字旁. And you have ma when you change, the radical in this character here. And sometimes it may appear as a totally different sounding character like feng. Okay. And this character here, ma, can also appear as a 偏旁. And then when it's paired up with another different radical here, it becomes 起. All right, so you can see that children may actually find all these aspects overwhelming or difficult to grasp, and it will lead to a lot of frustration and dislike. All right, so this is just one of the factors why our children can be reluctant or frustrated about learning Chinese. Another one can be teaching methods. All right, teaching methods used in teaching Chinese can also impact a child's attitude towards learning. So some of you may find these three pictures pretty familiar. All right, a very strict teacher, 词语手册, and 习字本. These are in fact my familiar sights when I was learning Chinese as a young child. So if the teaching approach is not engaging, interactive, or tailored to a child's learning style, it can lead to disinterest and boredom as well. Okay. What else, And in fact, Chinese has, it's not just Chinese, language in general has a language culture association. All right. Learning a language involves understanding and appreciating the culture that is related to it. So learning Chinese as well, children, if children are unfamiliar with the Chinese customs, the traditions, social norms, the culture itself, they might struggle to connect or appreciate. They may struggle to appreciate these cultural aspects, which can make learning Chinese less enjoyable for them. Right, and social influence is also one of the factors. Children's attitudes and behaviors are often influenced by their family members and peers, people around them. If a child perceives that their loved ones, their close friends, or even their classmates do not value learning Chinese or express negativity towards the language itself, they may adopt similar views to fit in or to conform, or they're just, influenced by, people that they are strongly related to. Okay. And lastly is the lack of exposure. Right. Some of you have mentioned about, using less Chinese at home. So children's interest in learning a language can be influenced by their exposure to the language itself. So being able to be immersed in an environment where children gets to listen to people speaking Chinese, they will start to learn to speak too. Listening and speaking, in fact, are the foundations of learning a language. So if they have limited exposure to the Chinese language and the culture in their daily lives, they may perceive it as less relevant or important. So in contrast, children who have more exposure to the Chinese language, such as through the family or the community connections, they may be more motivated to learn Chinese. All right. So I believe some of you may have questions all right, along the way as I continue to share more in this webinar. So feel free to go to the Q&A function and just type out your questions. I will address your questions later on at the end of the webinar. And if you wish to speak later on, you may also raise your hand and we will provide some time for you to ask your question verbally, all right? So how can we help, children with learning Chinese? So what are the secrets to help our children to learn Chinese? Well, I wouldn't say that they are really secrets, because I believe, we all may already know what to do and how to support or what to teach them. I would call them tips, right, that you should always keep in mind. If you want to motivate your child and make the learning of Chinese a more enjoyable journey for your child, okay? So tip number 1, firstly, you need to learn about the Chinese characters, okay? So Chinese characters are essential for reading and writing in Chinese. So they may seem daunting at first, but it is not just about learning the characters, all right? It's learning the language, learning Chinese is not just learning the characters, but it's also about understanding them. So it's really to get children to learn about the Chinese characters. What are they? All right. So as we all know that, or as we all may know, that Chinese characters evolved from pictorial symbols that started in the ancient times. So the lines, in these characters slowly evolved into strokes and stroke patterns, as what we see in our Chinese characters right now. So it is important for our children to understand them and also, get them interested. So we can make it interesting by showing them a video or a book to let them visualize how the Chinese characters resemble their meaning or resemble objects or how they derive from objects and meaning. All right, so let's take a look at a video here and let's see how many words you are able to identify through this video. So how many letters, how many characters do you manage to see in this video? So, well, it's, we have to actually find certain platforms for children to get interested about, or curious about Chinese character, because with interest and curiosity, that kind of motivates them to learn more about Chinese characters. And besides videos, we can also show them through books. Pause this. So this is taken from a book titled 自行话. So some of you may have heard about this book. Some of you may not have. This is a book which you can purchase from bookstores like Popular, or I think the Youyi bookstore from at Bras Basah. I believe you can also get your hands on this book. It shows children how the characters evolve and how characters resemble certain objects, and it makes the pictures really bright and how to say, close, visually close to how the character really look by strokes. So you can see these are all taken from the book itself. And you also, in the book, it also provides the meaning of the word and also sample sentences, which, allows the child to learn more about, how to use these words in full sentences, or how to express these words in full sentences as well. Okay. And also, we can tell children that, learning a word is like eating an orange. Learning a Chinese character is like eating an orange. We have to break it into meaningful parts so that we can appreciate the taste. So Chinese characters come in different shape structures like these ones. Okay, so this is a top-down structure. All right, or what we call it 上下结构. So you have words like 铅笔的笔, which has this structure whereby you can actually break it up into meaningful parts, which is the 竹字头 and 毛字底. And you have these kind of structures, which is the left-right structure, whereby, children can meaningfully break it up in order for them to either remember or learning how to write them and even understanding the word itself. All right. And this is feng, which is a different shape structure. And yuan itself also have a different shape structure for the Chinese character. And guo also, you have this 半下包围, which children can actually break it up and understand the different radicals in the Chinese characters itself. So there are actually many more such structures. There are, in fact, can be up to 10 or sometimes 14 of them. And you can learn more about these structures if you attend our Chinese courses that we offer at the Desk Academy. So with these structures, we can show children two key meaningful parts of Chinese characters, because most of our Chinese characters consist of semantic radical, which is the 偏旁, and a phonetic radical, which is the 身旁. All right, so in this case, say for example, 火字旁, which is actually a semantic radical, which is 偏旁 as well. So children can learn about this, what semantic radical is, and what is 火字旁, and what the meaning is, and where it is usually situated or positioned in a Chinese character. So usually for a left-right structure, 火字旁 is always on the right. Some children, especially those who are not very familiar, or they have very limited exposure to Chinese characters, they may get confused with exactly where should I be putting my 偏旁 or my 身旁. Sometimes they may actually, confuse or swap the positions of the radicals within the character itself. All right. And we can also introduce children words that have 火字旁 in it, and also explain to them why they all have 火字旁, such as 灯, 炒, and 炸 or 炸. All right, and they all have a relationship with fire. Okay, and also children can learn about more about phonetic radical, which is the 身旁. Say for example, this 身旁 here is 清. So phonetic radical, or what we call as 身旁, it provides the pronunciation clue to the Chinese words. All right. Say for example, 青色的青. So when it becomes a 身旁, the left position of the right position of the left-right structure. All right, it gives you words like 清, as in 清洁的清 with 三点水. It can be 情, 爱情的情, as well as 请客的请. And it is also important to let children understand that, although it gives the clue of how a character is pronounced, the tone may change. And this is because Chinese is a tonal language. All right, so this is an awareness that we need to, bring it up to our children so that they can better understand our Chinese characters. And this brings us to the next tip. So number 2, focus on tones. So Chinese is a tonal language, which is unlike of English. English is an atonal language. So this means that the meaning of a word can change depending on the tone used. Say, for example, the Hanyu pinyin you. So you have 4 general tones, which is yo, 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 yo. So as you change the tone, all right, as you pronounce the same, but you change the tone, it actually represents different possible words. Say, for example, you for this, you for this, yo for this, and yo for this. All right. So as you change your tone, the words may change and the meaning may change. So you can focus on learning, get children to focus on learning the 4 tones, especially, the tones are also marked by different symbols, right? And of course, if the child is able to, we can also introduce and get the child to learn the neutral tone, which is the 轻声, and practice with them regularly. All right. And we can use pictures like this or a story like this to get children to remember how the symbols are used, or how the lines are drawn that represents the different 4 tones. Say, for example, 第一声. So we can use a story of a little lamb or a little sheep, all right, walking across a flat grassland, all right, and hoping to find a nice grass patch for lunch or for breakfast. All right, so as it goes up, as the little sheep goes up the hill, so this is your second tone. All right, you notice that, hey, there are better grass on the other hill. So the little sheep goes down the hill and goes up another hill. This is your 第三声, your third tone. And then after that, the little sheep notice that the sun is setting and it's time to go home. And the little sheep decides to go down the hill to go home. So this is your 4th tone, 第四声. All right. And so you can also use hand gestures or body gestures to get children to practice the different tones, and also practice or familiarize themselves with the direction of the lines that represents the tones by using hands stretched out like this to represent the first tone, and your arm stretching out in this direction, which represents the second tone, and this way to represent the third tone, as well as this direction to represent the 4th tone. All right, some of my colleagues will call it the aeroplane game. You can play like a game, so they pretend themselves as an aeroplane and they're flying a plane, and then you can say a word and then get the child to tell you, all right, the correct tone, or even demonstrate by using these gestures to to represent the correct tone. So say, for example, 朋友. So which hand gesture will you use for the first word, and what hand gesture will you use for the second word? 朋友. So 朋友 is 第二声 and 第三声. All right. 爱情. So 爱情. So the first word is 第四声 and 情 is 第二声. Right. 天气. So 天气, 天 is 第一声 and 气 is 第四声. All right, so you can say it out, or you can, write the word out or show the child. If the child is able to read the word well, you can get the child to read it, and then get the child to tell you or demonstrate the correct tones. So this is a practice to strengthen their sensitivity to the sound of Chinese language, as well as familiarizing themselves with the tones. All right. So the third one is to focus on practical vocabulary. Okay, as you can see the triangle here. Okay, so there are 4 key aspects to language skills. All right, they are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So in Chinese, we call it 听说读写. So 听说, listening and speaking, is the foundation for reading and writing. All right. So when a child is familiar and comfortable with the spoken language, they can be more confident and ready to learn the written form of language. All right. So if a child lacks exposure and is weak in terms of listening, understanding, and even speaking to express themselves, So then I would suggest that you focus more on listening and speaking, focus more on the learning practical vocabulary. Vocabulary are words that you can actually use in everyday conversation. These may include basic phrases, numbers, or common words related to food, travel, and daily activities. This is actually to really give children the opportunity to get familiar and comfortable with spoken language itself. All right. And, as explained earlier, this is the foundation to your written form of language learning. Okay, so you can play activities like, using a scenario that allow the child to role play in a daily activity. It can be motivating for the child, and it can also capture the interest of the child as well, because they can see that they are able to meaningfully apply the language in a daily context or in an environment that they are most familiar and comfortable with. All right, so this is making that association between language and the environment. So so you can have something like having a meal. All right, so when you have a meal, you have your appetizer, you can have a soup as appetizer, you have your main dish, you have desserts, you have drinks, right? So if you can teach children the Chinese words, that association to all this. You can play activities whereby you can get them to, think about what they want to order. Say, for example, what soup would you like to have for your meal today? You can have chicken soup, 鸡汤, or fish soup, 鱼汤, and then get them to, talk about it and or even say the names. How about, your main dish, your 主菜, what would you like to have? Or your 主食, which is also another word for main dish. So it can be spaghetti, it can be hamburger, it can be rice. So, you can get children to learn the Chinese representation of all this. Like, if children are not comfortable with 意大利面, they can just learn 面. They can learn 汉堡包. I believe a lot of children love hamburgers, and they are, of course, find 汉堡包 very easy to understand, and even rice. Or, if they are more able, you can, encourage children to use more complex terms like 炒饭 or something like that. All right. And then for 甜品, which is a dessert, what would you like to have? Would you like to have ice cream or fruits? And of course, encourage them to use it in Chinese, to name them in Chinese, like 冰淇淋 or 雪糕 or 水果盘, things like that. And then you have your drinks, which is your 饮料. So what would you like to have? Would you like to have coffee, tea, or a soft drink? All right, so coffee is 咖啡, 茶, 还是汽水. So it's really to get them to, encourage them to actually speak, and applying it in through a role play form, using a daily activity like this. All right, and of course, some children, they may not be fully confident in expressing themselves 100% in Chinese. That is fine. As long as you get them to say the key vocabulary first, and then once they get a bit more comfortable, you can encourage them to express more in longer sentences, from a short sentence, from a phrase to a short sentence to a longer sentence. And you can even have role play conversations like, the child is a server, and the child is going to ask you, what would you like to have? 请问你想吃什么? And then you have to reply in Chinese, and then you get the child to respond and things like that. Okay. This is also another example, which is a map of a neighborhood, 我的邻里, which is also a familiar scenario for the child. We can talk about the places that we see in the neighborhood, because children can make association with an environment that they are very familiar with. Get them to identify where the places are, and learn about the names of the places in Chinese. Like the library is called 图书馆, the market is called 巴沙, and then supermarket is called 超级市场, and things like that. And you can also use a toy car. Get the child, to use a toy car and talk about how you will travel from one point to the other. All right. And of course, encourage the child to express as converse in Chinese as much as possible. And you can even talk about directions, 转左,转右,走直之类的东西. All right. So, and of course, when you are building up, the child's spoken language, you can start to introduce words that are associated to the sounds that they are already quite familiar with, the words that they are already familiar with in listening and speaking them. It actually, helps the child in terms of like making stronger association with the written form of the language. All right. And the next tip is using a variety of resources and methods. All right, so don't just rely on one resource to learn Chinese. Okay, it's not just about using a 词语手册 or a 习字簿 and write 1,000 times in order to remember Chinese characters. Okay, use a mix of books. You can use a mix of textbooks. You can use a mix of picture books, storybooks. You can use apps, websites, podcasts, videos to keep things interesting, like what I have shown you earlier, a video of how Chinese characters evolve, to get them curious and understand about Chinese characters, and also to use these resources and various methods to reinforce what the child is learning. Okay, so flashcards can be one of the useful tools for learning or even remembering Chinese vocabulary and characters. So you can have words like this. You can make your own flashcards, or you can also use electronic flashcards like Quizlet, all right, which I will show you later on. So this is a self-made cards by our own teachers, who will actually print out a word, and then they will use I think it's puff glue and glitter glue to highlight particular strokes within the word itself, so that children can actually make association with the strokes that they learn and the words that they are learning to read and write. This is a card that consists of the shape structure of a word, and then the 偏旁 that is positioned right within the character itself, whether it's at the bottom or around it, and so on. And for this card here, is actually for children to touch the glitter glue, all right, area, to learn the proper strokes in sequence and in proper directions. Okay, and also the DAS itself, we have also produced a deck of semantic radical cards, which is something like this. It consists of the most commonly used semantic radical 偏旁考, that's what we call, as well as the the shapes, the shape structures associated to it. And at the back of the card, we also have pictures and also words that contain similar semantic radical as this, for children to actually learn more, and it's all based on our local Chinese curriculum. So if you are interested, actually we do actually offer this deck of cards together with our Chinese certificate courses, if you are keen to learn more about it and how to use them, or if not, you can also purchase them directly through our website. Okay. And you can also find this book, which is, I think, at popular bookstores or general bookstores. All right, this book in here contains about 128 most basic or frequently used Chinese characters. All right, and inside it has exercise worksheets, which has pictures, which makes children a bit more comfortable and interested. And inside it, you can actually tear out the flashcards and use it as a tool for children to practice their vocabulary and the Chinese characters. Okay. Alternatively, you can also go to Quizlet. Quizlet has a website and also an app that you can download, and you can create your own flashcards. All right, so let me show you an example of a Chinese teacher that has created a flashcard like this. So the Quizlet has a front part of it, which is the original word, and then the back part of the e-card is the picture and explanation. So if children who require some support in learning Chinese characters through English words, then you can customize it according to the needs of your child. All right. Okay, so you can go to Quizlet.com and find out more. There are ready-made e-cards. There are also you can create your own. You can also have it as an app in your mobile phone, so you can always have these e-flashcards on the go and practice it wherever you are with your child, or embed it as part of a game for your child to make it fun. Okay. Another method is to use mnemonics, like using stories or images to help children remember Chinese words, such as a picture of a man sleeping or lying or resting by the tree is 修字. Okay, 修习 the 修, which is rest. So you have 人字旁 and 木. So 木 represents the tree, and the 人字旁 represents a human being. And then you can have pictures or an image to get the child to better remember the Chinese characters. All right. And you have the sun and the moon that represents 日月明. All right. So the sun and the moon. This is the sun and this is the moon. So 日 and 月 they actually provide light in their own way. So 明 can also mean light. Or you can also use a story to tell the child that you need a daytime and a nighttime to get to tomorrow, which is 明天. Okay, so this is some creative and fun way to get children to remember Chinese characters or learn Chinese characters better. You can also tap on their creativity. All right, so don't underestimate our children's level of imagination and creativity. Some of them, they can really come up with really interesting pictures like this, to help them to even remember or have that visual image of the character in their minds. All right, so these are examples of our students in learning Chinese through imaging. All right, and you can also check out this resource, which is called 象形启蒙, which is a word recognition card, which contains about 300 high frequency words. So you have the original word with the Hanyu pinyin, and then at the back of the card, it has a picture, that's kind of shaped or drawn according to how the Chinese character looks like. So you can also use that to, as a resource, if let's say your child is a more visual learner, or your child is very interested in art. This is also one way for them to explore learning. All right, and also ensure that the methods of learning is multi-sensory as possible. So this is we can use sand tray like this to get children to learn strokes, or even to learn to write certain Chinese characters to by tracing on sand. All right, so it gives a very tactile kind of sensory. It actually helps children to better remember words. All right, because it has an additional input, information input, not just visually but also through touch. Okay, so this is one of the cards that I have shown you earlier, and we actually put glitter glue on this card here so that children can just touch it and trace and practice the strokes. And then this is also embedded in a shape structure so that children can also visually see where this radical is positioned and how it's written. Okay. Okay, and this is a 水写簿. So some of you may have heard about it before, some of you may not have. So basically, it's a very unique piece of paper whereby you just need a brush with plain water. You don't need black ink, just plain water, and you can get children to practice writing in a more interesting way, right? Rather than just a pen and paper kind of a method for learning. Okay. So this is called 水写簿, which you can also try to find it online. You can get it, you can order it through online as well. Alternatively, you can also use plasticine, all right, whereby children use plasticine to knead out the strokes one by one from top down, and then from left to from left to right, all right, which is the proper stroke sequence. Okay. Alternatively, you can also have colored stickers to get children to stick in proper directions, so that as they see, they can they have that kinesthetic kind of movement, as well as the visual information, visual processing, as they see the word being formed in proper stroke patterns. And also we have something like this, whereby we have little cards that contain certain shape structures, and then get children to split up a word by writing on it. All right, so that it strengthens their ability to able to identify the various radicals in the characters more meaningfully. Okay. So these are also some other resources that we can use, such as, having reusing, plastic cups, and then you write words on it, or different parts of the words on it, like 提手旁, with different parts, whereby you can actually turn the two cups around. Okay, so you actually have two cups, if you notice. So the one on the outer side is, is the 偏旁, and the one in the inner part of the cup is actually the 身旁. So you can actually just turn it around for children to try and match the radicals together and form a character and read it out loud. Okay, and you can also use something like that, like this, like a cube, whereby you can write words and then encourage children to roll these dice and then form sentences meaningfully. Say, for example, if the child sees the word 扫地 and 抹地, then you say 我会先扫地然后再抹地. All right, 我会先做功课然后再看书. All right, something like that. So it's really to encourage children to use different resources and methods of learning. So finding a learning method that works for you and the child may take some time, and also a range of variety. There are many different ways to learn Chinese. It's not just about paper and pen. So some children, they may prefer to speak more, or converse more, or even to attend classes. Some other children may prefer to learn more independently, like using flashcards, online resources, applications, or even books, like those books that I have earlier shared about. And also, I think the key thing here is really to encourage children to experiment with different methods. Sometimes we tend to actually tell children a particular way that we think that worked really well for us, but it may not be the best method or their favorite method or their preferred method of learning. So do encourage them to experiment a variety of resources and methods until they are able to find one that they are able to enjoy, they feel comfortable with, and it fits their learning styles. All right. And last but not the least is to practice regularly and don't give up. All right. So consistent practice is key to learning any language, including Chinese. The more you practice, the better you will become in speaking, listening, reading, and even writing Chinese. All right. So try to set aside some time each day to practice speaking, listening, reading, writing in Chinese with your child. Some parents have also spoken with me before. They say that, they are not even very confident in learning Chinese or speaking Chinese themselves. They don't even know whether they are speaking it well enough to guide their children. I think this is actually not a real concern. All right. In fact, you can even tell the child that, you are willing to improve your Chinese, you know, you remember one of the key factors that can influence a child's frustration or even motivation to learn is social influence, right? So if they do see that, you know, their loved ones, their family members, or their friends are showing interest and motivation in learning Chinese, they will learn to follow the same way, right? And then you can put it in such a way that you are learning Chinese together with the child. You're experimenting it. You are also trying to learn from mistakes together. Okay, so you can also find a chat buddy or an exchange partner, a language exchange partner, to, you know, practice speaking and then get feedback on your progress, you know, learn more vocabulary. And of course, if you want it, if you want to do it a formal way, you can also find tutors online or go through language schools. There are also like applications, I think, like Hello Talk, whereby they have native speakers who are willing, or they are, you know, happy to volunteer to just, you know, speak the language that you are interested in, to just to help you with practicing. All right, so learning a language should be enjoyable. So try to find opportunities or even ways to make it fun and engaging, especially for your children. And this might also include, you know, using language learning games, watching Chinese movies or watching TV shows, or even practicing skills or practicing your language skills with friends, all right, who are also learning Chinese, as I've mentioned also, or you yourself can be practicing it together with your child. All right, and also there is one example that I would like to share with you down here, which is actually an initiative back in 2019, all right, before COVID happened. All right, this is called Project Kai Xing Dian. All right, Kai Xing Dian in English means be happier. All right, and this is actually a project by a Chinese language education center called Xing Wen, which teamed up with McDonald's to launch this project to encourage children, all right, to apply Chinese in a more practical sense. So that means if children are able to learn this song, learn the vocabulary, the Chinese vocabulary of, you know, their favorite food at McDonald's, they will be able to get a free Happy Meal. All right, and they place their orders in Mandarin. So I'm just going to show you a quick video of this song that children are encouraged to learn and sing and order their free for their free Happy Meal.
芝士汉堡炸鸡块，苹果片玉米鲜奶，薯条橙汁冰淇淋，学习花艺真开心。大家来点开心餐，下次点餐不再难，下次点餐不再难。
All right, okay. So remember, practice regularly and don't give up. All right. So learning Chinese does take effort, time and effort, definitely. And it is still definitely possible for our children to learn Chinese well. So don't be discouraged if you don't see progress right away, because we are not expecting huge changes. Some things just have to take some time. All right. And definitely don't give up. I think you have to keep trying and practicing. All right. And most importantly, when you are practicing, must remember to have fun. All right. And children are always willing to learn when they are having fun. So this is some photos of some activities that we have done with our children. At the DAS, we try to find activities. Sometimes we try to link it with culture, like Chinese New Year and 端午节, which is, you know, about dragon boats and rice dumplings, where do they come from and all. So you can see that, you know, children who are not even willing to write a single Chinese word or even their own name is willing to try to write a 春联. All right, and they're also, you know, after watching a play in Chinese, and then they are supposed to, you know, create or fill out, you know, a simple worksheet about the story that they have learned about, and they're very willing to try. All right, and then sometimes, of course, you know, if they are not able to write certain words, they can replace it with an English word or a picture, or they can even ask us for help. And most of the time, I think based on our observation, children are very willing to just try their very best. Okay, and this is the Lo Hei, whereby every child is expected to say one an auspicious word, and they are very motivated to do so. All right, even though they are not very familiar with the language, but yeah, it's very encouraging to see that. And so therefore, let's not think that all children hate learning Chinese. All right, so while some children, they may express dislike or frustration when they're learning Chinese, there are really several factors that can contribute to the child's reluctance or negative attitude towards learning Chinese, as what I have mentioned previously. So I think what's most important is finding opportunities, finding a variety of resources to allow them to learn from mistakes, allow them the time to exchange in the language itself, to converse in the language itself, get them interested about Chinese characters. I think that helps a lot, because some children, they find it frustrating because they don't understand how the strokes are formed and why they are like that, and why I can't write it in this way but must be that way, and things like that. All right, so I hope what I've shared thus far has been pretty useful tips for all of you. And there are also two apps that I also like to share with you, which is 悟空识字 and 悟空拼音, to help children with word recognition and also understanding the tones of the Chinese language. So these applications are created in China. All right, so they are actually not found or downloadable from Google Play Store or Apple Store. So you would have to go to their official website to use the application. So they actually do have applications for mobile, but of course you will have to manually download it, because we can't download it from our usual Play Stores or Apple Store. So if not, you can also use the website to actually play the game. So they actually have a series of words from the simplest to the most difficult ones in a story form of the 西游记 storyline. Okay, start off with like how Sun Wukong came about to meeting his different friends, and then of course eventually the monk, and then they go fight the demons and everything, and they are all the stories are embedded in it, and children have to learn the Chinese characters in order to complete the story, or to help Sun Wukong fight the various demons and stuff like that. So it's actually quite motivating and fun. A few of the students that I know have improved their Chinese because they find the game quite interesting. And of course, I start off with very, very simple words, so I think it's very suitable for children of younger age, or children who are really, really weak in word recognition for Chinese. Okay, so do check it out if you are curious about them. Okay. So yeah, so these are the Chinese courses that we offer. All right, to help you to understand more about how to support children in Chinese. So we have an e-learning course which you can learn at your own pace. We also have a workshop that we offer, 3 hours workshop, to give you some more tips and strategies. We also have the 15-hour certificate course, a basic one, and a more advanced one, which is the 21 hours course. So you can actually go to our website to find out more about these Chinese courses that we offer. So just to remind everyone that it is very, very important to note that not all children hate learning Chinese. Many children actually do find joy and satisfaction in learning the language, especially if they receive effective instructions and they engage in interesting materials, and of course have supportive environment, supportive family, supportive friends. All right, and encouragement, positive reinforcement, and also finding opportunities and ways to make learning Chinese enjoyable can help to mitigate any negative attitudes and even foster a more positive learning attitude in your children. All right, so these courses we also offer more ways than what I have, briefly shared in today's webinar. So do check out our courses if you'd like to find out more. And next up, before we end it off, I also like to, give a quick introduction about our Chinese program, if some of you are thinking about it, and also that, if your child is also, struggling in Chinese and you're hoping to, know how you can seek help. This is just a quick video to introduce you the support program that we offer at the DAS for children who struggle in Chinese.
为了鼓励孩子学习，我们必须先引起学生学习的兴趣。我们建立了安全友好的学习环境，鼓励学生多说华语。我们在课堂上也设计不同的活动和游戏进行教学，这些活动都是以主题式进行教学的，字词都是学生日常生活中会用到的字词，这样一来学生可以学以致用。
以下是几种我们常在课堂介绍的识字法，如图画法，用图画或象形字的方式让学生对字有更深的印象。偏旁法，通过讲解偏旁的意思，帮助学生联系字义，记住字形。声旁法，声旁法可以帮助学生更快地联想字音。如果几个字的声旁相同，这几个字的读音通常相同或相似。意义句就是把字的部件拆开，然后使用字的各个部件和字本身结合在一起，编成一个有意义的句子，让学生有画面感，更好地记住生字。如好字是妈妈有一个女儿，一个儿子，他们对妈妈很好。
那么家长们可以怎么帮助孩子学习华文呢？家长们可以在网上购买类似的水写布，让孩子用毛笔在水写布上面练习写字，也可以制作像这样的沙盘，让孩子在沙盘上练习写学习过的字。家长们也可以和孩子制作类似的词卡，突出字的部件，还有用不同的颜色来突出字的笔画，巩固识字的学习。针对阅读，家长们也可以选择适合学生年龄还有华文水平的绘本。家长们可以只读，鼓励学生用尺阅读，或者适合学生一起阅读。针对写作，家长们也可以鼓励孩子使用电子词典，帮助他们进行写作。以上是今天的分享，希望对大家有帮助。再见。
And at the same time, we are also trialing this support program for children who do not have a formal diagnosis, but obviously struggling with learning Chinese. So you can actually just scan on the QR code if you're interested to find out more, or register your interest if you like to, if you know that your child is struggling and you would like to explore how this program can better support your child as well. All right. And do follow us for updates. We have on Facebook and as well as Instagram. And if you like to, receive updates directly on your mobile phone, you can just join our WhatsApp channel. That's where we actually, blast out information about our upcoming courses and fundings that you're able to use in attending our courses. All right, and then you can also, through the channel, directly WhatsApp us your questions or inquiries about any of the courses that we offer. All right. So we have come to the end of the webinar, and I'm also happy to answer some of the questions that you may have. I'm just going to look at the Q&A. All right, and then so meanwhile, please as I look at the questions, please help us provide your feedback, your evaluation for today's webinar, and I'm just going to be looking at some of the questions at this point. Okay, someone, Susan has asked, will I be able to view the video again since it is recorded? Yes, all right. So we will be posting this webinar up on our YouTube. We will be actually following up with all of you via email with the YouTube link later on. All right, and I do see that Susan, you have raised your hand as well. So perhaps we can allow you to speak and see if you have to allow you to ask the question that you have. All right, maybe my colleague Suryati, are you able to help? Let me take a look. Let me see. Hi, Susan. You are allowed to speak now, so you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi. Actually, I'm asking whether we can watch the video. I'm glad that we can watch it because I'm actually in Melbourne, in Perth now.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, correct. I think I will be attending one of the course that you mentioned regarding on this, how to help students with difficulty in learning Chinese. Because in my class, I have few students, they actually struggle in learning Chinese. Yeah. So I think when I back to Singapore, I will view again. And if there are any question, maybe I can write to Suryati.
Yes, you can write to Suryati, or I can also provide my email address, which later on I will just share it at the which is actually on the cover slide of the webinar. So you can, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
All right.
Good.
Okay, thanks.
If
Susan.
I have anything, I'll write to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so okay, let me look at some other questions that you have. Someone asked whether you have any course for adults to learn conversational Chinese. Well, we do not offer courses for adults to learn conversational Chinese, but I believe you can, check out your nearest community centers or language centers. They do have our Skills Future courses. I believe there are courses like that, but unfortunately, we do not have courses for adults to learn conversational Chinese. Okay. Where can we find flashcards for purchase? All right, if you go, you have to go to the DAS Academy website. All right, so dasacademy.com. All right, and then just click under, I think, shop. You will see the deck of flashcards. All right. There are 4 types of Chinese courses. Which one should I go first for my P1 girl now? All right. I would say that if you have a limited time and you just want quick tips, all right, then my suggestion is you can look out for our workshop. Our workshop, in fact, actually most of our Chinese courses will restart next year, starting in January, so you can keep a lookout for the updates on that. So yeah, you can start with the workshops, or if not, if you like to learn more in-depth ones and a little bit of understanding how dyslexia affects learning Chinese, you can consider the 15 hours certificate course for a start. Then after that, you can consider whether you want to try out the advanced certificate course. All right, I hope that answers your question. And then there is one question here. All right, so you have a nephew. Someone mentioned that you have a nephew at K1, K2. can remember words short term, but cannot retain them in the long term. And he's P6 now. We can found out that he's dyslexic and could possibly be the reason for his slow progress. That is possible because dyslexia is a language-based learning difficulty. So children don't only have difficulties in learning English, if they may also have difficulties in learning Chinese. Okay, so how can we help dyslexic children with the learning of Chinese? My suggestion is you can attend our workshop, all right, to find out more about some quick strategies that you can apply. Alternatively, if you want to understand a little bit more about how dyslexia affects their learning of Chinese, you can also consider our e-learning course, which opens every month, every first of the month until the end of the month, and you can learn at your own pace. There's a lot of explanation about what dyslexia is and how it affects Chinese, and also some basic principles on how to help them. But if you really want practical tips, my suggestion is to attend our workshop for a start, or the 15-hour certificate course. Okay. So for another question here, for more advanced Chinese learners, like in secondary school, have some foundation, but find it difficult progressively as word recognition becomes harder. All right, what tips do you have for these learners? Well, because they're in secondary school already, it is good to also create a better awareness of encourage them to explore various resources and materials to help them to remember. We still use some basic strategies like the use of mnemonics, like story or image or colors, to help them remember certain parts. So it's really more targeted form of strategies that we will actually apply to help them better remember words. But yeah, of course, it's definitely harder for them because they're already in secondary school. But I think it is still possible to apply similar strategies. It's just that, it is on more complex words. But most importantly, because they're already in secondary school, it's good to encourage them to explore ways that they are more comfortable in, to increase that self-awareness, to learn how to, find suitable resources to support themselves as well. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, so I think I have more or less answered everyone's question. So just let me scroll back to the beginning of my slide. So feel free to drop me an email if you have more questions from this webinar. This is taking some time, but yeah, all right, there you go. So this is my email address. So if you have more questions about the courses, about anything, or even the Chinese program, how to support struggling learners, feel free to drop me an email. Then I will try to, respond to your questions and inquiries the best that I can. All right. Alternatively, you can also just, go to our Facebook or join our WhatsApp channel to also contact us directly. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time, spending your lunchtime with me, and also for your questions. And I hope to see a lot of you again in our subsequent webinars. All right, or even in our courses. So have a good time today, and take care, and see you again.